Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Let's get started here. Listen, pre-orders are an interest-free loan, and the only collateral is trust. That's the way a business looks at this money. Okay, the purpose of this video is not to make a hit piece or drama farming or anything like that. I make comedy videos on the situation, but it's just comedy, right? There's just jokes. This is more of an educational video, and it's about business, and hopefully I'll give you some business insights, right? I don't have a script that I'm following. I just sit down here and I make these videos, but hopefully with my expertise, and this is my area of expertise, okay? Business analysis is what I do for a living. I don't know this company specifically, right? I haven't looked at their books or their numbers or whatever. But the purpose of this video is to give you an expectation and an overview of what a business does in these type of cases, or what they should do, what the customer expectation should be, the things that I'm looking at. For example, if somebody would want to invest in this company and I take a look at their operations, right? These are some just, over the top, this is not deep analysis, just going to give you some thoughts, some breakdowns of what's common in the industry. Now, when it comes to pre-orders, guys, you really have to know that this is just an interest-free loan that you're giving the company. That's what it is, right? And as people in business, quote unquote, this is a great tool to have, because no bank is going to give you this type of loan. They're not. No bank is going to say, hey, here's some money, okay, and pay us back with product when you can. That's the gist of the loan, right? In layman's terms, right? I'm not doing deep analysis here, but that's basically it. So when you're starting a business, of course, and you're trying to raise funds, if you don't have your own, if you don't want to be leveraged, which you shouldn't be, by the way, that's just my opinion. But if you want to start a business and you have to leverage yourself, the best thing to do is get the best terms possible on any type of loan that you get. And there's nothing better than an interest-free loan that you get to repay at your own pace. Now, the problem is, the guarantee for that loan is trust. You have to trust the person to do what they said they were going to do, right? You have to trust Tommy Tallarico, right? You have to get that bump there. So, let me just break down the facts as customers and what you should expect, right? In general, like I said, this is not a drama video. I make comedy videos, and the little shorts with the AI. You can enjoy those, but those aren't really serious, right? And since I haven't seen the books of these companies, I just give you just an overview of what I think. So let me give you some expectations that you should have, right? When you're talking about trust and pre-orders, that's collateral, and it's been over a year now, whatever it is. But when you have a delay, then another delay, and then another, it really hurts your credibility. And then in late November, you get told, hey, they will ship the last week of January, right? But customers are expecting, okay, they're in the warehouse in January, we're going to get them. No, they're going to ship out of China in January. So now they'll leave China in January. So now Chinese New Year is coming. So realistically, maybe February, probably March, because February is Chinese New Year. And if you have multiple delays, let's say 3 delays, and a moving explanation every time, right? Missing dates is not normal. Remember, the number one rule in business is always be on time. And the core question that customers are asking is, can you guarantee delivery? Basically, right? If you're going to ask for a refund because you're not sure, then the only way you can reassure the customer is, when are you going to deliver these, right? They're asking, do these cabinets actually exist? That's a very important distinction, right? Because you haven't seen an operating system and what have you. Now, when it comes to manufacturing, guys, this is my area of business expertise. And anybody in manufacturing will tell you that manufacturing leaves a paper trail. At least if it's organized manufacturing, right? If you have manufacturing without a paper trail, you have you have problems, right? But let's get started at the factory level, right? If these cabinets exist in real production, a company should be able to show timestamp photos, for example, a video from the factory floor, right? You're not giving away any secrets, right? You could have multiple assembled cabinets on the floor, right? These are things that are done in business all the time, right? When customers, press for parts and they want to see shipping proof or whatever, you have contracts out there that are staged out, in long-term programs where customers will give you payment at certain stages of manufacturing because you do need that financing, right? So you're able to do these quality checks along the way and give proof to the customer that they actually exist. So they give you more funding so you can produce, the rest of the order or the finish, right? You should have, wired monitors out there, control panels installed. I mean, in this case, right? Boxes with crates. Like this kind of stuff doesn't reveal any relevant trade secrets if you take the pictures right? It does not require them showing vendor contracts or anything like this. A lot of times you have to take pictures for the shipping company to show, look, this is how we packed it. These cabinets were good when we put them on your container, and they should be good when they arrive, in the port of Long Beach, for example, if they're coming out of China. But when somebody says they're done or they're almost done, right? It's things that we heard before. They're in formal production. That doesn't mean jack shit. Okay? That doesn't mean anything. It's just words. They're almost done. Now, show me that they're almost done, right? I'm fronting you the money. Right? I'm giving you this interest loan. The least you could do is assure me. If you can't show more than one cabinet, you're in trouble, right? And this company is at the point where rubber's meeting the road. You need to show something. Now, let's talk about something that customers will hear all the time. They're on the boat, okay? So if they're on the boat, on the minimum, there should be a bill of lading, a booking confirmation, a freight forwarder. It should be involved usually, a port of departure, a port of destinations. Now, companies can redact sensitive details, to put out to the public, but you need to confirm that those containers are booked, right? That's a reasonable expectation for these pre-order holders to ask, like, okay, prove to me that these containers are booked. You can blank everything out, right? But if nothing is booked, they can't show you anything because these containers don't exist. And Chinese year, guys, Chinese New Year is not a surprise. That's a part of any basic development plan that a company would have to make products of these types, especially if you're making them overseas. It's not an excuse, right? And it happens every year. Factories plan around it, exporters plan around it, freight forwarders plan around it. So Chinese year isn't really an excuse, which leads me to believe, in this case or in other case, if they can't provide proof, that production wasn't finished when promised, or shipping was never locked in, for example. Neither explanation would build confidence. Again, I don't know if this happened or didn't happen in this case or any other case. I don't know who you pre-ordered with, right? Like I said, giving somebody over $500 to pre-order an item where, the only guarantee that you have is the trust in the person who's selling you the stuff is not a great idea. If you're a YouTuber and you're doing it for, views or whatever, okay. But if you're an everyday working guy that put your trust in a company, then it's reasonable for you at this point, right? For me, it would be after the first delay, but at this point, after, multiple delays, for you to ask proof of what they're saying. And this is real easy to do. This is not complicated. Anybody can provide this to you, right? I mean, if I saw, even if they're late, guys, if you saw an assembly line and the cabinets were there, we've looked at assembly lines from the 1980s. Go look on YouTube, right? You can see Pac-Man machines, Donkey Kong machines being built in front of your eyes. So it's not anything that hasn't been done before. Now, you as a customer, right? What can you expect as far as a checklist, for example? Let me give you like a layman's perspective, right? Like if somebody promised you whatever pre-order and you don't have it yet, okay? Let's go through a list. Let's say that it's arcade cabinets, like in this instance. It could be with any vendor. It could be with Iconic, Arcade One Up. It could be with a private entity, a smaller entity. Maybe you ordered a custom arcade, right? So you want evidence of finished cabinets, factory photos if possible, multiple units visible. That's very important because anybody can make a prototype, guys. There's a huge difference between production and a prototype, right? Because in production, you forked over the money that you were given as a loan to the manufacturer to make these machines. If you can't prove that, most likely, right, I would expect, my red flag would be, wait a minute, if you at this point can't show me pictures of machines in an assembly line, have you given that money to the manufacturer? Is this actually, right? Those are the kind of questions you start asking, right? And I'm not saying that's the case in this case, but it could happen in any case. That's why you're looking for this kind of stuff. Proof of packing, right? Pictures of pallets, right? That's Atari did it, I believe, one time when the people were asking questions. Are these going to be made? The old VCS, they showed pictures of pallets, something Amico couldn't do, right? And then they eased the minds of their customers. You gave us $3 million, we produced the product. Here's the pallets. Everybody just shut up, right? You want to make videos that are critical of you, just shut their pie holes. You show proof. Again, you could do this with any pre-order. Shipping documentation, bills of lading, book confirmations, right? Freight forwarders. You need to have a single consistent timeline. Even if you change it, when you change it, it has to be locked in. You can't change it and then change it again. Remember, number one rule in business: always be on time. There needs to be a clear refund policy. No guilt trips, for example. You can't show up on camera like, guys, really, please, just give us a chance. No, that makes you look weak. It makes you look weak as a corporation, and really doesn't build trust with customers. Just no delays, no excuses. If it's going to be a far timeline out, just give it. If it's going to take a year and a half, it takes a year and a half. But just say it. Just stick to that date. Right? It's better to give the worst date possible and deliver early than give out unrealistic delivery dates and then be super late. That never works. So just to wrap it all up, guys, because I have to go back to working on the sink. I still haven't fixed it. I'm running out of time. Pre-orders are interest-free loans. That's what they are. They used you instead of a bank. Why? Because a bank wouldn't take a chance. Right? And just think about it. Most of the people that will ask you for pre-order money own homes that are worth millions of dollars that they could take a credit line out of, and they could produce the machines without asking you for a single cent. I mean, that's where your antenna should be just flashing, right? But once trust is damaged with these companies, guys, it's very hard to build that trust again. And then now they're asking for patience, and they want to earn it without evidence. They're like, that answer the guy gave, like, user interface, is that normal? Is that a thing? That's the worst kind of answer to give. Unprepared. It tells me that these people, they hire them from different industries, but they're not really, arcade people. Anybody would know that. And, the checklist I gave you would just be some clear expectations for you to have. Anybody that's producing things on the up and up should be able to give you these no problem. And again, this is not a hit piece. This is more information for you to have on this or in any other project, right? Any other project. Those are questions that you should be asking. Now, hopefully these are going to ship just like they said, at the end of January or whatever the heck. But if you're a customer out there, these are the things that you should be expected to be asking and have a reasonable certainty that they should give you. Send out a mass emailing to all the pre-orders. Look, guys, here they are. They're on the line. They're coming off the line. They're going to ship next week. That kind of stuff. So hopefully that'll happen for people. We're better off, and I've told you this before. When this project started, I wanted John D to succeed, because I think the more competitors in the market, the better. Iron sharpens iron. So competition is better. But if you're not cutting the mustard, then consumers have to protect themselves, right? And when you have multiple delays and you don't have a user interface, questions need to be asked. All these statements at this point, they need to be proven. Remember, it's your money and you gave it away as an interest-free loan. Is that a great idea? All right, humans, thank you so much for joining me. I will catch you on the next one. Remember to like and subscribe. I'm being told by viewers that some people are getting unsubscribed, so make sure you unsubscribe. There's an outtake for this video. You can get it by joining the channel. If you want to pick a subject, get some coffee. All right, humans, I will do the same. Let me get ready to do the honeydews around the house. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.